exodus. Country was locked down in short notice and millions of migrant workers had lost their jobs. They had no choice but to walk back to their villages. The hunger march from the cities caused outrage. Government had to act. From May 1st, Indian Railways ran around 5,000 special services. 60 lakh migrants rode back home. Nobody thanked Indian Railways. It was just a public sector undertaking doing its duty in a national emergency, while the mission cost the railways a loss of 2,000 crores. Welcome to the world of public sector undertakings. Nobody doesn't know for sure why they even exist. Is it for public service or for profit? Is it a business entity or part of government? An epitome of inefficiency or victim of state policies? They can't be all at the same time. The NDA government seems to have no such confusions. In the next 4 years, they will get rid of as many as government companies as possible. It's called the monetization pipeline. From railways to roadways, power grids to stadiums, airports to power lines, almost everything are up for grabs in lease for 25 to 30 years. And a hefty amount is expected back. A figure with 12 zeros.
There's no land here. This entire pipeline, national monetization pipeline, is talking about brownfield assets where investment has already been made, where there is a completed asset which is either languishing or which is remaining not fully monetized or which is remaining underutilized. So by bringing in the private participation into this, you're going to be able to monetize it better, and with whatever resource that you're having obtained through the monetization, you're able to put in further investment into infrastructure building.
26,700 kilometers of road, 900 trains, 400 railway stations, 21 airports, 2.86 lakh kilometers of optical fiber network, 15,000 mobile towers. The list goes on. This year, the target is about 88,000 crores. Next year, it is 1.62 crores, then 1.79 and then 1.67. High expectations, but the question is it a good time to lease?
In today's economic conditions, do we really think that there are a lot of private sector companies that will come and fight over each other to bid for such capital intensive assets? When we all know that they're not investing in their own businesses. So the idea that capital intensive public assets can be monetized at a time when we have literally just had a record negative GDP growth for the first time in contemporary India's history is just laughable. There will not be enough bids, but there will be friendly bids at friendly prices and valuations.
Air India sold for just 18,000 crores last month. It was first offered for sale in 2017, but there were no takers. Government waited for 3 years. And during COVID, when the aviation industry was facing the biggest slump in its history, tenders for sales were again invited. There were only 2 bidders, the mighty Tatas and the insignificant SpiceJet. Government watered down the terms of sale and undertook 46,000 crores of the debt. That's how the Tatas got the national carrier for a song. Now they have 3 airlines and controls 42% of the domestic aviation market. When the country moves further into monetization pipeline, will the Air India story repeat? History has some lessons. Russia in 1990s. To get over economic crisis, government decided to give away state-owned firms. People were offered vouchers to buy shares of these companies. But soon the vouchers ended up with the wealthy Russians. And within a short time, just 7 persons owned most of the industries. They were called semi-bankrashina or the 7 bankers. They controlled Russian banks, oil, gas, mining and media operations, and also controlled the Russian president from the shadows. Should India worry?
But I don't think it's even backdoor entry. This is a front door entry. They're opening this out and saying, hey, come on, who can bite? I don't think there is a very clear process. Already we have seen how Adani has got so many airports. This is only going to lead into monopoly into these 2 or 3 hands.
The game plan is clear. A backdoor entry for the fronts through cheap pricing of assets. But the finance minister reminds everyone that the assets are not sold but only leased out. She in fact repeated it almost 6 times in the press conference that announced the plan.
And there will be a mandatory hand back. They'll have to give back after a certain time.
But for the investment and improvements made in the asset, how would government repay when they take back the asset? If government says whatever investment you make after 30 years is government's, then there will not be a takers for this asset. So there are only 3 options possible. One is government extend the period of possession. Now it's 30 years, government said, okay, you keep it for 90 years, virtually in perpetuity. Second, outright sell it to the new owner. Third would be government again retender it. See, government is already on a route by which government cannot take back possession of the assets.
अंग्रेजी में इसको डिस्ट्रेस सेल बोलते हैं। सबको पता है कि इकोनॉमी की हालत खराब है, सरकार के खजाने में पैसा नहीं है। उस वक्त अगर आप सरकारी संपत्ति को गिरवी ही रखेंगे तो आपको उचित दाम नहीं मिलेगा। सरकार जो है कहती है देश नहीं बिकने दूंगा, ये तो वही बात हो गई। बिल्कुल साधारण भाषा में लोगों ने समझाया कि मैं कहूं कि मैं गाड़ी नहीं बिकने दूंगा, फिर टायर बेच दूं, स्टीयरिंग बेच दूं, इंजन बेच दूं, बॉडी बेच दूं और कहूं कि मैं गाड़ी नहीं बिकने दूंगा। तो देश की जो सरकारी संपत्ति है, सरकार उसको बेच रही है।
But if the assets are really coming back after 24 years, it's even worse. The new owners will drain away the assets before the deadline, will rip them off to maximize profit. And since it was not a sale, the price will be too little. Why does the union government needs this much of cash? 6 lakh crores is 1/6 of the annual budget of the country. To build a robust infrastructure is the answer. In fact, in the last Independence Day, Prime Minister had launched a national infrastructure pipeline project.
100 लाख करोड़ से भी अधिक की योजना लाखों नौजवानों के लिए रोजगार के नए अवसर लेकर के आने वाली है। गति शक्ति हमारे देश के लिए एक ऐसा नेशनल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मास्टर प्लान होगा जो होलिस्टिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की नींव रखेगा।
The biggest ever infrastructure plan of 100 crores. But we are not hearing it for the first time. A little bit of brushing up the memory may help.
नेशनल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पाइपलाइन प्रोजेक्ट, इस पर 110 लाख करोड़ उससे भी ज्यादा खर्च किए जाएंगे। हमने तय किया है कि इन कालखंड में 100 लाख करोड़ रुपया 100 लाख करोड़ रुपया आधुनिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए लगाए जाएंगे।
So far, he has announced it 3 times in 3 years. Economic slowdown and poor tax collections are still looming large. Fiscal deficit for this year is over 15 lakh crores. One can only hope that the government will not be compelled to use the money from monetization to fill the budget deficit. Or is this the government's real intention? What does monetization mean to common man? Government promises better facilities, more jobs, more efficiency, but many are skeptical.
प्राइवेट सेक्टर कभी भी ठीक से काम नहीं करेगा अगर उसके साथ कोई पब्लिक सेक्टर नहीं होगा। मैं कह रहा हूं कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर भी तभी अच्छा फैसिलिटी देता है जब उसको पब्लिक सेक्टर से कॉम्पीट करना होता है। आईसीआईसीआई बैंक भी आप जब घुसेंगे तो आपको ग्लास में पानी लेकर के देगा जब एसबीआई होगा। जब एसबीआई होगा ही नहीं तब जो है आप आईसीआईसीआई का फैसिलिटी देख लीजिएगा। मैं एक एग्जांपल बिहार का देता हूं। बिहार में सरकारी ट्रांसपोर्ट खत्म कर दिया गया। प्राइवेट बस वाले ना कॉलर पकड़ करके लोगों को जबरदस्ती बिठाते हैं अपने बस में। बीच में अगर गाड़ी खराब हो गई तो आपको उतार देंगे। उसको लेकर के मैं ये समझता हूं कि अगर बीएसएनएल रहेगा ना तभी जियो धन धनाधन हो पाएगा। अगर बीएसएनएल नहीं रहेगा ना तो देखिए कि जो है जियो तो धनाधन होगा लेकिन आपका धन आपके पॉकेट में नहीं बचने वाला है।
Now during the pandemic, it is the public sector that came to the aid of the people, whether it be in terms of transportation, whether it be in terms of the distribution of grain, whether it be in terms of the gas that was made available, and whether it be the public sector hospitals, etc. So one of the lessons of the pandemic is that we are a collectivity. You know, back to the 1947 idea that we are a collectivity and we have to deal with our problems collectively. And for that, an efficient, well-functioning public sector is very crucial. If you don't have an efficient, well-functioning public sector, then many of the things that happen during a pandemic or during a crisis, where the markets fail, those functions will not be performed.
There is not going to be an employment opportunity there. Like we saw it even in the banks, like where categorically the government said that we are not going to retrench employees, but they did not retrench employees for sure. But then even within a year before merging certain banks, they requested people to take voluntary retirement. So that is, it won't come under retirement, but definitely there's going to be loss of job even for those people who are working in this sector.
Most of the poorest of the country work in some of these sectors, like the railways or the road construction or in these infrastructure projects. So many of them, and also the affirmative action and quota system is pegged on the public sector. So there is no clarity tomorrow if this goes into corporate hands and if this goes into private sector, how is it going to affect the employment opportunities of the young from these communities? Is it going to continue? There is no clarity on that, and I'm sure that it will not.
Almost every country in the world has done two things economically to help their nations recover from this crisis. What are the two things? One, stimulate demand or at least help protect people's incomes through a direct cash transfer. Every single large nation has done this. If anything, the debate in America among economists is that they've put in more money than they should have. The second thing that they've all done is stepped up government spending, government investment, government expenditure. Once government spending goes up, then jobs come back, incomes go up, and incomes go up, demand goes up, and demand goes, private investment comes back, and hence we revive the economy. What has this government done? They've actually done the exact opposite. They said that as a government, we're going to step out and we're going to monetize. Does this make any sense to even someone who's studying basic economics?
The story of monetization pipeline has only begun. The onus is on the government to prove that others were wrong. Meanwhile, there is a twist in the Air India story. SpiceJet Chairman Ajay Singh, the second competitor, was seen boasting that if he didn't participate in the bid, government would have been in a difficult position.
We are happy that we participated because also, in a single bid situation, it would have been difficult for government to disinvest Air India. I think great congratulations to the government for the successful disinvestment.
What is Mr. Singh suggesting? Was he just a dummy for the Tatas and the government? It seems the threat of backdoor entry of oligarchs is not just a possibility. It's real and it is happening. Well then, brace for impact. Brace for impact.